Good morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners via St. Maarten Gov Radio 107.9 FM and other radio stations, and online viewers. I'm Rolika Roach, and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, June 13th, 2018. At this time, I invite the Minister of Justice and Acting Minister of Transport, Telecommunication, Economic Affairs, and Tourism, the Honorable Cornelius De Wever, to address you. Minister De Wever.
Good morning. Thank you, Ms. Roach. Fellow colleague ministers, to the media, good morning, St. Maarten. I have a few announcements for this week. I try as much as possible to keep everyone informed, so the press releases are constantly coming. But of course, we always have to keep you informed as other developments. And one of them is the small claims court procedure, which is actually there but not being used very frequently. And it appears that the public is not aware of the possibilities or find it difficult to start a procedure even though the costs are low and the formalities are greatly reduced. A standard form is being drafted and will be available through the court's website in English, Dutch, and Papiamento. We are also looking at other languages possibilities, but that one has not been finalized as yet. And these forms will be able to file the claim. These forms will be available hopefully in September, and it will be available on the website. The Office of the Griffier at the courthouse will also be able to assist individuals with filling out these forms and procedures as well. I want to thank Mr. Peter Lemire, the Vice President of the Joint Court, for assisting me with this project as well, because it has been a burning issue within the community. I know it was also an agenda point for the Prime Minister during her term in Parliament, and to see that we have it and we can use it is extremely important, because the present Wetboek van Burgerlijke Rechtsvordering provides an easy access procedure for claims up to 10,000 guilders. The court fee is low, 50 guilders, and normally 15% of the sum claim, varying from a minimum of 50 guilders, and it can go up to 7,500 guilders. The procedure is accessible for both natural persons as well as for companies, and no lawyers are required. The griffier sends a copy of the claim to the debtor. The debtor has 3 weeks to respond to the claim. If he fails to do so, or she fails to do so, or if there's no substantive defense, the judge will issue a verdict. Otherwise, in case of the debtor defends himself with him or herself with a material argument, the judge orders a court session for both parties to explain their arguments to the judge. During this session, an amicable settlement can be reached. If not, a verdict will be rendered in 6 weeks. This, again, is an outline of the procedure, and I hope that the community take notes of it, and for small claims that they are able to save some money as well as settle any potential conflict. July 1st is also approaching, the deadline for the number plates. I know Minister of Finance has also mentioned it a couple times. I just want to reiterate it as well. The leniency was granted, and it was, I know, very appreciated. I've been stopped by many people and thanking me for giving them that break. But I also need them to do their part and comply with the July 1st deadline. Just a quick update, American Airlines as well has increased the seats on the daily flights during the summer. So the capacity is now at 160 passengers, which should mean more business for St. Maarten. On November 4th, there will be a new flight from Charlotte. We're looking forward to that one as well. That's one of the things we had discussed when we met with them as well. And on December 19th, there will be 3 flights coming from Miami. So we're gearing up for the season. I want us all to stay vigilant. I want us to stay productive, and I want us to be ready for the season. I'm asking everyone to do their share as well. These are my announcements for today, and I'll await any questions you may have. Thank you very much, and have a good day. Ms. Roach.
Thank you, Minister De Wever, for your opening remarks. At this time, I invite the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, the Honorable Jorien Wijten, to address you. Minister Whiter.
Thank you, Rolijke, and good morning to the members of the press, my colleagues, everybody listening in. A pleasant good morning, pleasant Wednesday. And as I've stressed on numerous occasions, of course, recovery and resiliency will continue to be the theme of this interim governing period. And while a number of initiatives are aimed at repairing and restoring what was lost in the storms of last years, we are now indeed focusing on disaster preparedness trainings and indeed the continued repairs of schools, the continued repairs of sports facilities. I've been informed, for instance, that the Dutch Quarter basketball court is advancing and that the Middle Region basketball court is also ready and to commence the repairs so dearly needed so that our young people have sufficient activities to engage in their respective districts. Now, last week, as minister, I was also able to partake in a variety of activities that each in their own way showed how strong we are, therefore, as a people, and how we do not let adversity hold us back or keep us down. I was able to visit, for instance, the Prince Willem-Alexander School and take part in an I-STEP presentation where I was able to witness firsthand our advancement in 21st century learning with school children of Teacher Stewart and Teacher for Words classes, and they gave demonstrations on how technology was used in answering multiplication and division problems related to math. Technology is ever advancing, and we must continue to utilize whatever tools necessary to teach our 21st century children. The I-STEP program is a needed initiative, and I look forward to its advancement in our classrooms and schools, especially in this case the public schools. I was so pleased and therefore also excited to especially see students with learning challenges engaging learning through technology, and some teachers mentioned that students actually challenged before are now fully engaged and participating in learning and therefore advancing with their possibilities to have gainful employment and opportunities in life. I also attended last week the final games of the interscholastic primary school water polo championships. I used this opportunity to congratulate the students of the Hillside Christian School on a well-deserved victory, which I witnessed, and all the schools that participated. The hashtag Sports Matter campaign continues to be close to my heart, and I recognize the importance of all the various display of sport activities that continue to be carried out on a daily basis, and I encourage everyone, volunteers, schools, sports associations, federations, to continue and keep the good work up. Therefore, I would also like to use the opportunity on behalf of the Department of Sport to highlight 2 sport, fitness and healthy lifestyle businesses on the island that the registration drive for the Expo section of its 4th annual Sports Open House is now open. The theme of this year's event is, of course, hashtag Sports Matter. And the open house is set to take place on Friday, August 24th and Saturday, August 25th, 2018 at the Raoul Illich Sports Complex. And I would like to urge all relevant organizations to participate in this wonderful event. Rounding off a busy week, I was also able to surprise the winner of the Too Cool to Loot logo contest hosted by UNICEF and my ministry. The winner, again, is Mrs. Cochiquetzo Lee Gonzalez Toro, and she was also the winner of this year's Culture Prize. She's a student of the Charlotte Broxton Academy. She's displayed extraordinary talent, and the Culture Department recognized her with her ability to indeed present and design the logo for the campaign. Right in line with the concept of equipping ourselves and strengthening the capacity of St. Maarten and its citizens, I'm very pleased to disclose that in yesterday's Council of Ministers meeting, the approval for the principal agreement to pursue the long-awaited law faculty program on St. Maarten offered by the University of Curaçao received its support. In May, I had a report commissioned to study the feasibility of starting the law program at the University of St. Maarten as early as September 2018. The study was executed and the report written by Dr. Rhoda Arendel, who has been involved in the earlier stages of the exploration and feasibility of the program as well. The objectives of the program stems from the assignment given, of course, by the then Minister of Finance to finalize the feasibility study on a law program on Sint Maarten in cooperation with the said university in Curaçao. However, due to the passage of Hurricane Irma, the execution of the program was halted and has been picked up by my person and revisited. The goal remains to produce a team of homegrown lawyers through a Dutch Caribbean law program and offer more opportunities, therefore, for lifelong learning and higher education on island. I have emphasized on many occasions my belief for education as an important strategy for social and economic development, and this is therefore a prime example. The report submitted by Dr. Arendel gave advice regarding the objectives of the law program and the initial proposed pre-law program. I prefer not to pursue the route of an established so-called law foundation to execute the program, and would like to see whether we can simplify and have effective, minimal, strong organizations. And in this case, of course, the University of Curaçao has the accreditation of a very, very critical program, and we would explore, and they are requested to assist us also in the development and strengthening of our own capabilities to have this program executed. The initial proposal for the law program at the University of Sint Maarten was therefore for two interconnected programs. As I mentioned, the pre-law program offered therefore by USM and a Bachelor and Master of Law program, BA and MA, offered by the University of Curaçao. Now, as mentioned, the BA-MA program will be executed by them, and this means that students in Sint Maarten have to meet the same requirements for admission into the BA-MA program as the students in Curaçao, because this part-time program will start simultaneously in September on Curaçao and on Sint Maarten. The students therefore need to possess a VWO diploma from an institution within the Kingdom of the Netherlands or equivalent, possess a HAVO diploma along with the first year HBO or bachelor training, possess a HAVO or a CXC CSEC or O-level diploma along with the entrance exam on the level of colloquium doctum, and other requirements are necessary such as the staatsexamen. Another alternative could be that if we have the pre-law program in effect, that could be then also a qualifier to enroll in the bachelor or master degree program. Even though we will start therefore with the law program in September, the University of Curaçao and University of Sint Maarten are in consultation to indeed review and prepare for options to start a pre-law program in January 2019. The budget for the proposed program would come from the Ministry of Finance under a budget post that was set up by the former minister and especially therefore created for this project. And I'm very happy to have received the blessing of my colleague Minister Mike Ferrier and the entire Council of Ministers for this support, as we all dearly recognize possibilities for socio-economic activity and this further strengthening of USM. We will have the remaining costs to start up this year taken from that budget post, and hopefully in the near future then the necessary transfers will happen to ensure that sufficient funds are available on the Ministries of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport program. Therefore, I'm thanking the Secretary General of the Ministry, Dr. Rhoda Arendel, Dr. Goudappel from the University of Curaçao, for their preparatory work, for their partnership, their consultations, and I wish them also success, because we're now going to engage in a further advice, a second agreement that will therefore reflect the final service level agreement to be reached and to be signed off. But with this preliminary principal agreement, we have been able to confirm that we're able to keep matters within the available budget, and we are then able to also indeed start the first initial marketing and set up preparations in consultations with all parties, such as also the University of Sint Maarten. Yeah, this is what I would like to share, and I'm of course open for further questions from the press. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister White, for your opening remarks. At this time, I invite the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Michael Ferrier, to address you. Minister Ferrier.
Good morning, members of the press, colleagues, St. Martiners, wherever you are in the hemisphere, in the universe. It's a great day in St. Martin. We're having a good time. And no, I'm not the Deputy Prime Minister. I'm just the oldest minister. And since the Prime Minister is off island and the Deputy Prime Minister is off island, the law says the oldest guy takes over. At 68, I'm dictator for a day. Oh, well, a couple hours. Yeah, she's coming back today. So, anyhow, it's quite a privilege to serve St. Martin. The issue that I'd like to just bring to your attention today is our monetary unit. As you know, we're still using the Antillean guilder, the Netherlands Antillean guilder. Back in 10-10-10, the Central Bank of Curaçao and St. Martin was established basically when we had the two countries emerge from the change of our kingdom setup. And we have a situation with regards to the what monetary unit are we going to use. Based on existing legislation, the country, St. Martin, could continue using the old Netherlands Antillean florin, the old Netherlands Antillean guilder, which we're all so familiar with. However, we have some issues coming up. As you know, for one thing, banknotes, they tend to get destroyed, they tend to get to a condition where they cannot be used anymore, so they need to be taken out of circulation. Right now there is a supply of approximately 2 years left at the normal rate of attrition, normal rate of old banknotes being taken out. And so a decision has to be taken if we are going to print more, have more replacement banknotes made. But that brings a couple of questions. One, we have a monetary unit with Curaçao right now. Question is, will that continue for a long, long time yet, or will we decide to do something different? If we continue with Curaçao, which right now it looks that's the way it is, but it's being evaluated, or we're going to take a look at how to go on about that. PricewaterhouseCoopers made a report in 2014, I believe, in which they also suggested that an evaluation should take place whether or not Curaçao and St. Martin should continue in a monetary unit or not. But let's take that we will continue if that's the case. Then we need to decide what are we going to do about the guilder. We cannot continue with printing the Netherlands Antillean guilder anymore, simply because there's some technical issues with that. One is the ability to forge, to make forgeries out of the present banknotes seems to be technologically possible. And so they'd have to upgrade that technology. And to do that, it seems to be extremely expensive. So that's one of the technical aspects of, do we want to invest more money in just upgrading a currency that eventually will have to disappear? There's talk about a Caribbean guilder, and to get that arrangement made, like I said, we need to determine first, are we going to continue with Curaçao as a monetary unit, and if so, we need to then decide what are we going to do. Are we going to have a Caribbean guilder? Are we going to dollarize? Are we going to eurorize? Whatever it is that we're going to do will need to be determined. So I've started. The contact has been made between myself and my colleague in Curaçao, the Minister of Finance, and we are starting up that conversation as soon as possible, because we need to make a decision as soon as possible with regards to where we're going and what we're going to do. So that's the most important item that I wanted to mention to you, beside the fact that as I mentioned earlier, I am dictator for a day, so watch out. Oh no, it's for a few hours, I was told. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Minister Ferrier, for your opening remarks. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing. Thank you for joining us. We now go on to the question and answer session. Hilbert Haar of St. Martin News Online, you have the floor.
Good morning. Minister Ferrier, about the monetary union. I seem to remember that quite some years ago the Social Economic Council issued an advice that basically said get the hell out of the monetary union because it's not beneficial to St. Martin. What is the current thought about that issue?
Tell you the truth, Hilbert, we have not really spent a whole lot of time on that issue. As it just came to my desk again this week, based on conversations I've had with my colleague in Curacao. And the urgency was brought forward again simply because we are running out of the supply of present currency. But it will be brought back to the Council of Ministers so we can, this is a discussion that we must have now because time is starting to press. Like I said, we have a two-year supply left. And so I hope that within the next 3, maximum 6 months, a decision can be made as to which way we're going to go with this.
Stephen Cerulean of PJD2 Radio, you have the floor.
Ministers, good morning. First of all, I want to say good luck to our colleague Hilbert Haar, who will be leaving us shortly. Good luck to you. Minister of Education, the pre-law program, you said that this will be financed by the Ministry of Finance. How much has been budgeted for this program?
Thank you for your question, Steve. First of all, to correct you slightly, I believe I've mentioned that we are going to start with a law program in September 2018 in collaboration and therefore executed under the supervision of the University of Curacao. That's the first step. The associated costs have been analyzed, reviewed, but they relate to an entire academic year. So we will now bring it down to the cost associated for the remainder of this year, being there for September, October, November, and December, and indeed the startup cost. Overall, the expenditures are expected to be way below $300,000 to $400,000 for this remaining year, and for an entire year, approximately $500,000. But don't hold me to that because we are crunching those final numbers, and these are the first sincerely prepared and well prepared budgets by the University of Curacao. But we will now break it down to what are the costs for the remaining of budget year 2018 and which are the costs that will roll over for budget year 2019, which is relevant. In addition to that, as you mentioned and you indeed maybe misunderstood associated with the pre-law program, we will also further consult and engage in a conversation with the University of St. Martin, because I have been informed that the pre-law program would possibly be executed by the University of St. Martin itself, and then could function as a qualifier to enroll in a bachelor program and a master degree program, which of course have to meet the standards and the recognition in order to be called lawyer in the Dutch Kingdom. Yeah?
Alita Singh of the Daily Herald.
Thank you, Relaika. Good morning, Prime Minister, for a few hours and more, and Minister De Wever, Minister Waita. My question is for Minister De Wever. It has to do with border protection. We have received several complaints from especially business people not holding the Dutch nationality that either have residency on either side of the island or they have businesses here. When they're coming in via the airport, they're being heavily questioned. I've had 2 incidences where business people, that it can be shown from their passports that they have come here frequently. They were asked, for instance, do you have pictures of your apartment? One of them actually owns property here. We need to see that. I do understand that there is, and I think they also understand that there's a need for better border protection, but it's also seen as them being very harassed, especially by the Dutch border protection officers that are here. 2 of the people that were harassed, I'm sorry that I'm being a little long, but I need to explain it, of course, have names that are in other parts of the world would be considered suspicious, so to speak. So they felt, at least one gentleman felt very discriminated against coming in. You spoke about flights coming in, us building back better and doing business, etc. This is not a good impression for people that are bringing money into us. Have you also had similar complaints? And if yes, how is this being dealt with?
Thank you very much for your question, Ms. Singh. I'm aware of one situation that was brought to my attention. It was referred to the head of immigration, the good lady, to handle this situation according to the laws of the committee. Now, there was supposed to be a committee that should have been established before. That never was. So we have started to establish that committee so that any complaint that comes in will be handled in the correct manner. So we've asked this committee we've asked the head of the department to handle this complaint as if it was part of the committee so that we can start preparing to establish that committee to handle any complaint through that department. The timeline for it, we started yesterday, technically speaking, because it came to my desk yesterday, because I've been traveling for the CTO Caribbean Week in New York, as well as the PAMAC conference, because next year we will be hosting the PAMAC conference in St. Martin. So we're looking forward to that, and we had to announce that in Punta Cana. And they came to my desk yesterday. So we started yesterday. The email went out, I believe on Monday, to the good lady at the immigration department, and we're busy working on it now. Thank you.
Lyndon Brown of BCN TV, you have the floor.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and to the ministers that are present. And to minister for a couple of hours. Congratulations. A lot of time, Minister Mike Ferry, the people of St. Martin feel that they have been targeted. We have seen it in the paper Monday, the front page of of the manager of the harbor. Can you let the people of St. Martin know who exactly over the harbor? Because it seemed like everything is directed in one direction, and the harbor is a government-owned company. Okay.
Thank you. I will allow the Minister of TEAT, under whose domain the harbor falls, answer that.
The port falls under the shareholder rep under the Ministry of TEAT, Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transportation, and Telecommunications. So I'm the one that has been involved with the board as well as management to address a lot of these issues. One including which was the inquiry, and as you know that investigation has been going on for 2 years. They have had full cooperation from the management of the port. In addition, if they appoint anyone for the inquiry, the port would have to pay for it, and it could come up to over $500,000. So we're definitely, that's one of the reasons why we were very reserved about getting involved in the inquiry at all, because for 2 years of investigation and having all the documentation, technically there was no need for an inquiry. That was the position of the shareholder at the time, and we maintain that. I don't believe in anyone being targeted. The prosecutors have their job to do, and they are executing it. And like I mentioned in my opening statement in court, as the Minister of Justice, I did not believe in interfering in any kind of investigation, and let that course be taken.
Hilbert Haar, you have the floor.
Okay. Minister Wuiten, your predecessor took a decision about the financial support for the university, and I think that covered like their cost for 3 months or so, if I remember correctly. What is the current financial situation of the university? Did you follow up? Did they get more money? Because I don't hear anything that they are on the abyss at the moment.
I will make sure that indeed further information and details will follow as we are now advancing in the month of June. And of course, in the meantime, in line with the Memorandum of Understanding that was agreed upon in December, the University of Sint Maarten was requested to submit their subsidy and submit a business plan, which are currently being consulted also together with the legislation for higher education. So those matters have been submitted, but are currently being reviewed. Of course, the University of Sint Maarten has received funding throughout the previous years and this year as well. But the additional funds that were made available indeed came to an end in the first quarter and are now awaiting the finalizations of the reviews and the audits that are also currently taking place with the university and the SOAB. So I'm sure that once conclusions are there, we can indeed properly inform the members of the media for the course forward. But as I've mentioned, once, of course, the University of Sint Maarten further expands its program, it will become a more sustainable and strong institution within our society.
Thank you, Minister. Stephen Cerulean.
Minister of Culture, July 1st, Emancipation Day is fast approaching. What are some of the planned activities for the observation of the day in question? And how much has been budgeted for the overall day of activities?
Thank you for the question, Steve. We are advancing with the preparations. I received a brief elucidation and a briefing by the Department of Culture. I think it's fitting and appropriate to have a more extensive preparation made through a press release with a breakdown of all the activities that are anticipated. There will be slight changes in comparison to the previous years, but I would allow the Department of Culture to be specific instead of highlighting a couple of them and then maybe making mistakes. Overall, we don't have a specific separate budget for Emancipation Day set out, but we have an overall budget of approximately 300,000 guilders for a variety of observances, such as, for instance, sometimes more funds that need to go to Sint Maarten Day observations. That depends on whether we are the organizers or whether it's the French side. And every year also for Sint Maarten, for Emancipation Day and other activities and observances and national holidays as well. Yeah? So I will promise that we will prepare a press release with a further breakdown so that everybody can further participate in activities that we are preparing.
Thank you, Minister. Alita Singh.
Thank you again. We'd like again to the Minister of Justice. Could you give a further explanation about that committee that you mentioned earlier? Who would sit on that committee? And you mentioned that it was the Immigration Department. Isn't there a difference between immigration and border protection? Just to be clear on that, and so that people know also in the future how the committee functions and how they can file complaints, etc.
If you give me 1 minute, I'll try to look up the complaint. But can we just come back to that in a second? We can go ahead with the next question.
Okay,
and
sure.
I'll try to look it up.
Okay, Lyndon Brown.
Quick question to the Minister of Education. There was ongoing fury in the PSBE school. Has this matter came to your desk? And so far there was some discussion with lawyers. Were you present to resolve this matter at the school, seeing that education is a priority?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Brown. Answer is simple, no. I was not present in any type of consultations, which is considered primarily a first internal school matter. PSV is a private foundation run by a school board, and therefore the school board is in their first initiative to handle these type of internal matters. Of course, we have a system with the Inspectorate of Education that will supervise there for the matter. If there would be any type of incidents that require my attention, I will then indeed receive the report. Yeah? So I did not receive the report on my desk, I believe you literally asked, as yet. So I'm sure that the Inspectorate of Education is further involved in this matter.
But it's a concern.
Any incident or matter related that would indeed negatively impact education could be a concern and should have the attention of the appropriate authorities. And in this case, that's the Inspectorate of Education, who have an advisory role and also an intervening role in the educational system. Ministers don't have to get involved in each individual case until they are requested to do so. Yeah? Thank you.
Thank you, Minister White. Minister De Wever, are you able to answer Ms. Singh's question?
No, but I can definitely try to provide the answers by this afternoon and send it out in a press release so that everyone is aware. Sorry. My apologies.
Thank you, Minister De Wever. Hilbert Haar.
Something completely different. The hurricane has damaged a lot of monuments in St. Maarten. One of them, I noticed that the statue of Juan Tete Luque is gone from that roundabout. Do you have a budget to restore those monuments, and how are you going about that?
I'm happy that you bring it to my attention, also to alert myself. You know, there are days and weeks that you're overwhelmed with some other priorities, and unfortunately, the matter of statues are first of all no recognized monuments. They were placed, developed. They're relatively new, developed and designed over the last 5 to 10 years. And it has often been an initiative by the Ministry of Vromi in their construction of, for instance, roundabouts. So the question of the position of the statues, its value and its replacement and maintenance are indeed a matter that have to be addressed between the Department of Culture and the Ministry of Vromi. Whether funds are there for set aside, we have to look at it, because we have to also not only consider Juan Tete Luque, but also, of course, the salt statues here in the roundabout in front of the police station should also be looked into. So I know it has our attention, and haven't recently been informed to see if there would be any type of clarity whether it would be carried by the Ministry of Vromi or whether it has to be carried by the Ministry of Culture. But statues are an important symbol, important value to our identity and culture. So thank you for the question.
Thank you, Minister White. Stephen Cerulean.
If I may just add to
Yes,
that,
Minister.
I think from a St. Maarten point of view, if I may, those statues, we will find budget for them someplace, because it is important. It is important that we restore St. Maarten to what it was, at least to what it was before, and then better. And those statues definitely should come back. Just like I just want to dovetail into that, our Prime Minister has been working diligently on replacing the flag back on the point, the Colby lookout point, and trying to organize it this way. In this time, make sure it's done in the correct way. Stronger flags have been ordered. I'm not sure if the one that's there today is one of those stronger flags, but definitely stronger flags have been ordered. A change of lighting has been instructed to be put up there, because the whole idea is if the flags are going to be up all night, it needs to be properly lit. Now I've seen them installing the new lighting, but right now, as far as I'm concerned, what I can still see is the bottom part of the pole is well lit, but the flag itself is not lit quite good yet. So it's a work in progress. Another thing that is being done up there is, of course, it's private property. It's owned by the Bells, the Bell family. We're still trying to untangle how the whole project came to be. But for sure, we see tourists walking up and going up to the flagpole. From what we read in the papers at the time when this project was being put together, it was going to be one of when people are standing on the lookout, the existing lookout, and they take pictures with the flag in the background. That's what was the idea was. But what we see is we see tourists walking up and going to the flagpole. And we are concerned about the safety of the tourists that walk up there, especially since the flagpole has been put up there. Like I say, we know that it's private property, and so we want to make sure that we, let the tourists know that they would be walking up there at their own risk. Again, the project was put together in a hurry for whatever reason. We think it's a great idea to have the flag there, but we are trying, and our Prime Minister is endeavoring to straighten out the issues that were left undone when the flag just went up, to have a flag up there and not worry about the other items that surround it. The red light, indeed, also, on the top of it, there is a hazard light for aircraft, and definitely that light that was up there, somebody said, oh, it's in accordance with the limitation and the rules of civil aviation. But as I mentioned before, as a pilot myself, I think that light was way underpowered. It should be like the lights that are on the hilltops, as you can see on the masts all over the place. You see those even, especially in bad weather, you still see them, you see them. And that's the whole idea of letting a pilot know there is something in the way that you want to go around or above or whatever. And that light is also being replaced. So for Flag Day, the flag is up, and we are working on improving what should have been done in the first place.
Thank you, Minister Ferrier. Stephen Cerillion.
Interestingly, the Minister of Finance is addressing the flag when we actually observing Flag Day. My question is to the Minister of Education. How much is being taught as it pertains to the flag to our youngsters, especially those attending the elementary schools, to ensure that they are well knowledgeable as to the significance of the flag?
Thank you for your question. We have developed, the Department of Education and Innovation has developed a special curriculum related to social sciences and relevant developments related to history, symbols of our culture, and that has been designed in special educational material, which has been distributed to the various schools, the subsidized schools, the public schools, in order to apply it. How exactly, of course, the various teachers in primary education include it in their lesson programs, I'm not aware of, but the material has significantly been invested in. Monies have been put aside in order to ensure that we are better indeed educated, informed, and take more pride in our own social developments, history, and symbols of our culture.
I am going to jump in there also, because that, again, is a very important point. If you're in the United States and they start playing the United States anthem, everybody stops. Most people also cross their heart. If you're in the Dominican Republic, same thing happens. If you're in France, same thing happened. It upsets me to no extent when people on St. Martin, and some of our own St. Martiners do it as well, but mostly people who are not aware of what our St. Martin song is all about. Everybody keeps talking, everybody keeps walking, everybody keeps their hat on, everybody keeps doing whatever they want, because in St. Martin, everything is okay, but it's not. The flag is also very important. When we have a situation, an official presentation of the flag, it should be honored, and it must be honored. Our national song, it's not our anthem yet, but our national song must be acknowledged by all those that have chosen to come to St. Martin and make St. Martin their home. This is a country that has its flag, has its song, and it needs to be respected. And we, as a St. Martiners, need to show the good example. When the St. Martin song is played, we should stop. We should stop where we are, allow it to be played, and give it the respect. And another peeve of mine, I told you I have a couple of hours I can do this. changing our St. Martin song. There seems to be a new thing when you sing the St. Martin song that you add your own notes to it and make it a different style. Some people think I don't know, maybe it's an expression of how to present the St. Martin song, but it's my personal, I say it again, my personal opinion that the song must not be taken and changed and have different sounds to it. I need to explain that maybe better, but I will find versions that really, according to me, do not do the song justice and the importance of it. So I think it's important that we look at these items if we're going to have a country that we're all proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Ferrier. Alita Singh.
Thanks again, Rolika. Minister Ferrier, going back to the whole issue of the flagpole, you said when you responded about it that government is still trying to untangle the whole project. Could you give some more insight into what you meant by that?
What I mean with that is that we want to make sure that we understand how it came to be, the cost of it, for instance. We had some questions about how much the whole project cost. What is allowed? Every minister has a limit in their that they're allowed to spend, and how they go about getting a project completed. So we're still trying to untangle that, how that all went. But like I say, there are some items that we believe, and our Prime Minister is very strict about these things. When you do something, do it in the correct fashion. Do and cover all bases. And in this case, we're talking about access to the flag, private property or not. If government has been involved with that flagpole, somehow or the other we're going to be drawn in if there is a mishap there. So we need to take steps to protect government against liability.
Thank you, Minister Ferrier. Lyndon Brown, BCN TV. You have the final question.
Minister De Wever, there are less educational activities that are taking place at the prison, and also less of our young people are going to prison. Is this wonderful? Things are getting better. Minister.
Your question is?
The question is, there are less activity, educational activity at the prison. I understand it is on hold. For what reason?
That is correct.
And also less of our youngsters are going to prison, which is something to be congratulated for.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. As far as the activities are concerned, the damage sustained at the prison included the work areas, whether it was carpentry or mechanics, upholstery as well. Those areas were damaged, so there are less activities. It's something that we are including in the plan 2 or the plan of approach for the prison, which is due this week as well. We're going to be sending it on to the Netherlands. The plan is ready. We were anticipating some more technical assistance from the Netherlands that was promised for the last few months, but that should be coming pretty soon. So between today and tomorrow, a letter will be going out to the Minister of Justice in the Netherlands, Mr. Grapperhuis, as well as Mr. Knops, informing him of our current status and how we're moving forward, and we look forward to that. Again, even when it comes to building a prison, it is not just the walls and the cells. It involves the rehabilitation. It involves the education. A lot of the rooms where the computers were, for example, were all destroyed. So we do have a lot of work to do up there, and that's being addressed in the plan for NAPAC, the plan of approach.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Minister De Wever, for your response. Honorable Ministers of the Council, Members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, June 13th, 2018. For rebroadcast, tune in every evening at 7 p.m. on St. Martin Cable TV. For video on demand, log on to the official government's website at www.stmartingov.org. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the government of St. Martin, we would like to wish Mr. Hilbert Haar the best if he is leaving. As we heard from Mr. Steven Cerulean, we would like to wish you the best in all your future endeavors. On behalf of the Department of Communication, I'm Roleika Roach, and do have a pleasant day.